Never mind, can't do that. I was gonna put the jersey on, but all the magic exists on Sun. I don't want to take the magic from it before it's matured.
Yeah, you can't pop that magic out early.
I have to throw it. I have to throw the jersey on the same spot of the floor every week.
Yeah. Ever since I threw my Joe Thomas jersey in the corner of my bedroom, we've been winning, so there it stays.
Yeah, like seriously, my Josh Allen jersey on the floor, it like partially into the closet. And that's where it will live until next Sunday.
Yeah, it was halfway through the Baltimore game, week 1. I went into the bedroom, ripped off my jersey, and like power thrusted it into the corner of the bedroom, and there it remains.
Yeah. All right, well, fuck it. I'll just keep this shirt then. It's
lies
enough.
Bub.
Also, we should really figure out the email address so that we can get user questions.
fourthandwrong@gmail.com.
Everybody, and Matt, it's Tuesday, November the 28th, 2020, and this is the Fourth and Wrong podcast. I'm your host, RJ, and joining me as always is Keith. Say hi, Keith. Hi, Keith. So let's just quickly get the how's your back update. How's your back?
Better. I can almost reach the bottom shelf of my fridge. Fortunately, I've moved my beer to the top shelf of the fridge because big brain moves.
Important. Yeah, galaxy brain.
But no, seriously, I'm actually not drinking because of the pain management I'm on. But yeah, it's getting better. I can move.
It's good.
But every day is still an interesting mix of caffeine, muscle relaxers, and NSAIDs. So we're getting through. I got a doctor's appointment tomorrow, so we'll figure it out. I'm probably gonna be out of work for another week or two.
Oof. Well, we here at Fourth and Wrong, which includes yourself, wish you a speedy recovery. So. Way to be narcissistic, I guess.
Hey, so far, no cabin fever, so I haven't tried to kill my wife. So this was a fun week of football, huh?
Yeah. Also, we've been bullshitting for like 20 minutes at this point, which people may or may not hear some of. And I'm just now realizing that apparently neither one of us charged our headsets going into this.
Corded gang, boy.
So there's your visual gag for the week. What's yours plugged into? Because mine's plugged into a PlayStation 4.
Mine's plugged into my computer because I have a USB hub.
Oh, like a sensible person.
Yeah, like an adult. So I don't have to switch around shit all the damn time.
I'm like an adult. Like, I'm adult adjacent.
Technically counts.
I don't
you can you can buy your own adult things and vote and all that fun stuff.
Yeah, rent a car.
Yeah.
I'm such an adult. They changed the smoking age, and I was like, I don't care. That's how much of an adult I am.
Yeah.
I was like, this doesn't affect me, children.
So, funny story. Shortly after that happened, at work, a couple of my coworkers, we had a volunteer and a
were they in
a regular
18 range but not the 21 range?
The volunteer was not 21, and myself and my partner are in our late 20s, and she needed a new pod for her vape, and goes, hey, person, can you pop into the gas station, hook me up real quick? And he just swings around and goes, do you want me to commit a misdemeanor? I was like, answer the question. And she was just like, yeah.
Yes. And he was like, okay.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah, what a weird time to live in. Like, I feel like for most of my life, those laws went pretty much untouched, and then if anything, like, it was like, you get to be younger to do this shit. And this is the one situation where it's like, haha, fuck you. And I was like, I'm 28 already. I almost didn't notice that this was a thing.
Yeah, it was the one time, like, everybody and their mother is, like, championing, like, lowering the drinking age in America to, like, more coincide with the rest of the world. If you are legally an adult, you can legally buy whatever the fuck you want.
Yeah.
So if you're 18, buy alcohol. If you're 18, buy tobacco products, like Europe, the UK, all these other countries that, have sense.
Uh-huh.
And America just keeps going in the opposite direction because nicotine's the devil, I guess. I don't know.
We're number one.
But it doesn't affect me because I'm 29 now, so...
We old. But this is a football podcast. This is, again, only a thing the visual learners will get.
No, they'll hear the...
Yeah, well, we'll see. But this is a football podcast, so let's talk about football.
Hell yeah.
I think we've kind of fallen into a groove, so we'll stick with it. What's up with the Browns?
Hey, man. Browns won a football game.
The Browns won another football game.
They won another football game.
The Browns are above 500.
For the first time in 6 years.
Seriously.
90 games.
9
last time.
times.
9-0 since last time they were 500.
Ferris's call out 90 times?
Yeah.
90 times.
Yeah, the last time they were over 500 was in 2014 where they were 7-6 and then proceeded to drop the last 3 games of the season in true Browns fashion.
That's profoundly bad and not the stats I'll be coming with later. So
yeah. So they have broken their own record, or they finally snapped the streak. They held the record for most consecutive games and most consecutive years without being over 500.
Oh.
The Browns are 2-1, and they played efficient football. So
who'd you
the Browns
play
played
again this week?
The Washington Footballers.
Right. So your wins have been against
Cincinnati and Washington.
Okay. Maybe I'll address that again later, but go on with your bit. I don't think those are especially good teams.
I mean, yeah, duh.
Okay.
Like we're super gonna get to that.
Okay. Go on then.
Yeah, I'm vaguely aware of Cleveland's schedule this year. Considering our next 3 games, we're gonna get literally the tar piss kicked out of us.
Okay.
So the Browns played efficiently is a word I like to a word I'll use. And the reason why I say that is because the running game got cooking in the second half, and Washington just kept giving us the ball back. First of all, Dwayne Haskins, Washington needs to figure out what they're going to do with him. If they're going to stick with him throughout the season, I think they will. I think Ron Rivera is committed to trying to develop him. We'll see how they feel about him at the start of next season, but as of right now, he's very inconsistent, and we were able to use that because he threw 3 picks, and on all 3 picks we scored a touchdown. And all 3 picks were on our side of the field. So we got set up with short field 3 times, and we capitalized. That's a weird thing for Cleveland to do because our points off of turnovers is historically awful. So Baker Mayfield's numbers don't look great because he only had 1 drive where he had to go all the way down the field to do anything. He went 16 for 23, 156 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks. So efficient. His average wasn't great, but he didn't have to do anything. He didn't have to play hero ball. He didn't have to do anything especially crazy. I say that he maybe could have contributed more, so we didn't have to rely on the turnovers because those turnovers really were what allowed us to stay in that game and then eventually run away with it. But then Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt reminded everyone why they're probably one of the better running tandems in the league. Nick Chubb had 2 rushing touchdowns. Both were, I wouldn't say highlight reel touchdowns, but big man had to work for him. They were both like 10, 15 yards out, broke multiple tackles, kept running after contact and just bowling ball forward. Kareem Hunt had a receiving touchdown where he got open in the flat and then just pinballed his way into the end zone like Kareem Hunt does. We had efficiencies in the rushing game that Washington was having issues containing, and they could not stop turning over the ball, even though Dwayne Haskins had 3 picks on his own, but overall they had 5 turnovers. One of which was right before the half, so we couldn't do anything with it because he literally fumbled the ball as time expired. But still counts because they got the ball back at the half, so we stopped them from scoring at the half, and then they got the ball back at the half. So it still helped us maintain some kind of sense of control. And then Cleveland came out at the second half and just started playing really efficient football, capitalizing on the turnovers and, chunk yardage anywhere between 6 to 10 yards at a time, just slow and steady leads the race, take advantage of the short field, keep the playbook open, give it to Nick Chubb and let him do his thing.
Slow and steady wins the race. It doesn't normally lead the race.
Yeah. And that's the case too, because Washington came out hot, and there was a couple of lead changes where Washington kept flipping the script, but then they just couldn't keep their turnovers. They couldn't keep the turnovers contained, and towards the end of the game, we started getting a lot of pressure on Dwayne Haskins. One of the sacks that Myles Garrett got. So Myles Garrett got 2 sacks in that game, one of which he basically gave Dwayne Haskins a cape.
Yeah, I saw that play.
He death gripped his undershirt and stretched that bitch down to his ankles.
Yeah, I mean, he lost about 2 yards on that sack just from the length of the shirt.
Yeah, Dwayne Haskins then proceeded to try to drag 265-pound Myles Garrett. And then one of the other D linemen, I can't remember his name, came in and cleaned up the sack.
Yeah, it would have been a 5-yard loss. It was only a 3-yard loss, but that's because of the shirt.
Because there was 2 yards stretched on that fucking shirt. And then Myles Garrett, towards the end of the game, got a strip sack, his second consecutive strip sack, where he has a strip sack in consecutive weeks now. Came in, Judy swatted the ball, and it literally bounced directly onto the ground and back up into Myles Garrett's chest. So he recovered his own strip sack. And
efficient.
Efficient. And that was pretty much the game. The defense is a little spotty at times. Like I said, we're still dealing with second level and secondary issues with injuries and whatnot. But they played well enough to take advantage of mistakes that Washington was making and keeping Cleveland on time when it came to short field opportunities, because Cleveland very rarely had to drive the entirety of the field, which significantly helps. But overall, there wasn't anything that stood out as mind-blowing. Odell and Jarvis and Austin Hooper played well enough to where nobody made any key mistakes. Jarvis actually saved Baker's life at one point.
Baker's bacon?
Saved Baker's bacon, if you will, because Baker went for a deep pass down the seam. It was one-on-one, Odell versus the safety, kind of underthrew the ball. Safety got under it, and Odell comes over the safety's shoulder and just fucking packs the ball into the ground and then gives the finger wag to the crowd. So Odell played a little corner, and that saved an interception for Baker. But it was a really funny play. And the one thing that I really take away from this game as far as the Browns are concerned is the ability to stay efficient even when the other team has a lead, if it's a 1-score lead or a kick or a field goal lead, whatever it is, just staying efficient, sticking with the game plan. And 2, the receivers really accepting the fact, Odell in particular, and he's come out in interviews recently to state this, Odell in particular understanding the fact that we are a zone rush scheme offense because we have one of the best running back tandems in the league. Your numbers aren't going to be New York numbers because we don't need you to bail us out. That was the problem with Odell and with the Giants, is Eli Manning could just chuck it to Odell and Odell can make himself open, because until they got Saquon,
that was basically the offense.
Sterling Shepard was perpetually injured.
Were they at the tail end of Victor Cruz?
Yeah, I was going to say Victor Cruz was at the tail end of his career, perpetually injured. And his career was short and sweet to begin with. So that's not the system that Kevin Stefanski is building in Cleveland. So Odell's come out in interviews recently and goes, I just want to help the team win. He might be saying it for the media. He might mean it. I don't know. But So far, I'm satisfied of how the Browns were playing, especially scoring 17 unanswered points in the fourth quarter just to put the game away.
I mean, they've done the thing 2 weeks in a row now that basically you said they needed to do week one, which is prove that they aren't a 6-point team.
Yeah, put points on the board and close games, finish games, either on the defensive or the offensive side of the ball. Finish games, because that was a huge problem last year.
The Bills could learn how to finish games. Well, they know how to finish games. If only. Anyways, we'll get to that.
Yeah, we'll get to that. That was a big problem last year. Is Cleveland would consistently, they would either get out to a lead or they're playing really well in the first half and they just couldn't finish the game.
Yeah.
So it's nice to see the last 2 weeks. A, them prove that they're not a 6-point team, and B, finish games, close games, finish drives, be effective in the red zone. It super helps when you have a 245-pound man that can run a 6.5 or run a 4.5 40 and breaks tackles like a fucking animal to help you close them drives in the red zone. So all the pieces are there. We're about to get tested like crazy these next coming games. So next week we're playing the Cowboys, who are they're surprisingly better than one would think.
I think,
especially against weak defenses, and that's on my list to talk about. So
I think, well, I mean, they're 1-2, and even then, I think their record doesn't reflect how. I don't know. We beat the hell out of them on Thanksgiving last year, so it's hard for me to have a positive view of the Cowboys.
Yeah, they're 1-2 with a killer comeback against the Falcons and a touchdown game against the Seahawks.
We're gonna talk about the Falcons.
Yeah, we're gonna talk about the Falcons, but we're also gonna talk about that Cowboys-Seahawks game because the Seahawks, I feel like even though they won, they got exposed. But we'll get to it.
Okay.
After Cowboys, we play the Colts, which, although not the scariest team, Phillip Rivers knows how to win football.
Is that a home game or an away game?
It is fortunately a home game. So they're going to have to get out of their little dome. Yeah. And they're going to have to play next to the lake. And because Phillip Rivers, you ain't fucking playing in California anymore, my guy.
And we're finally getting into them fall temperatures where that wind likes to whip.
Oh, yeah. And then the next week after that, we play the Steelers at Heinz Field. So our next 3 games are very losable.
Okay.
So we're gonna see after that. After the Steelers game, we go to play in Cincinnati, which I'm not worried about Cincinnati. We beat them once, we can beat them again.
See, I look at all 3 of those games, and for the Bills, I think those are all winnable. But
if you had to play the Cowboys, Colts, and Steelers, yeah, I mean 100%.
Okay, just making sure we're on the same page.
The Bills just beat the defending NFC champions, or from 2 years ago, NFC champions,
a couple years ago, yeah.
So, duh. The Bills can probably beat any team in the league right now.
Made Jalen Ramsey eat crow.
Yeah, boy. Yeah. Jalen Ramsey all about, hey, Josh Allen provides...
We'll talk about that.
Difficulties. Bah. But, I mean, we can talk about that now. Really, that's all I have to say. Like, they played efficiently. They didn't make any key mistakes to let the game get away from them. And they were able to stay on time. Especially in short field, and especially finishing drives in the red zone.
That's what you need.
Which is something I haven't seen out of the Browns in fucking years. And we are over 500 for the first time in 6 years. So
first time in how long?
6.
Over 500.
6 years. This many. 90 games.
90 games.
9-0. So we'll see if we can keep the momentum going into some really challenging weeks.
Yeah. Well, the Bills also have some challenging weeks coming up, but we'll glance into that because this last week was the first of them.
Mm-hmm.
Getting out of our division, while not playing the Patriots yet, we're 2-0, and so we're 2-0 in the division. And this was the first week that we had someone who people consider competitive. I mean, Miami's won a game by now at least, so. But combined records going into those games, combined records going into those games were 0-3 at the time, so But I guess let Josh cook.
Shut up.
Another 300-yard game. Another 4-touchdown game.
Mm-hmm.
Another
With
game where
touchdown.
Huh?
Technically 5 touchdowns. He had a rushing
touchdown. Another game where he almost didn't throw any interceptions. Almost. But I mean, Josh at this point is on pace for 5,000 yards and 50 touchdowns or more.
Mm-hmm. He is...
What? I'm sorry, what?
Yeah, like, there are a lot of analysts right now. I wouldn't say myself included, because I've always said that Josh Allen has a really high ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
His floor was just lower than the rest of the quarterbacks that were drafted the same time he has. Fucking Sean McDermott, he's working some magic with Josh Allen. Now, so there are a lot of... You talked about Jalen Ramsey eating crow. Like, there are so many analysts with, like, ESPN, NFL.com, CBS Sports that are literally... They're having to say, I was wrong about Josh Allen.
Eat it up. Like Zeke.
Chew. Yep. Munch on the crow. Because the he's playing out of his mind.
Yeah. I've heard people say that through 3 weeks he's the MVP.
100%. Yeah. You don't put, like, he has 10 passing touchdowns and over 1,000 yards already.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's...
I think he's got 11-22, I think.
Yeah. Plus 2 back-to-back game-winning drives.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. Is and he was tied with Deshaun Watson and Russell Wilson last year for most game-winning drives. Josh Allen, okay, so here's a stat. You're making me pull it early, but Josh Allen has 30 career starts. How many game-winning drives do you think he has?
13.
He's got 10. But for a third of your career to be game-winning drives...
Yeah, you've had to put the team on your back.
And this is his third year.
Yeah. And he's able to do it now without just having to put his body on the line and hurdle motherfuckers.
Well, he's still... I mean, we saw week 1. He's got no problem putting his body into people.
Oh,
still.
Sure. Yeah, sure.
Or I'm sorry, week 2. He's got no problem putting his body into people still.
Mm-hmm.
But... Yeah, he's playing out of his mind. It was interesting because we're really seeing... So we heard last week out of reports and stuff, and we talked about it afterwards. I don't think it made it into the podcast, but reports came out after the games that Stephon Diggs was calling up to the booth saying, hey, get these guys involved. John Brown was calling up saying, hey, get Diggs more involved. And everybody was, trying to up each other and not necessarily up themselves.
Yeah, feed each other.
And this week was like kind of a perfect example. Out of everyone who caught a pass for the Bills, yardage wise, what place do you think Stephon Diggs found himself in? Or are you looking at the list? So you're cheating?
Fourth,
yeah. Okay. So Stephon Diggs, after putting up 153 yards last week, it was 153, 158, I can't remember. Those curly numbers always get me.
A lot.
Yeah, it was a lot. He only put up 49 yards on 6 targets.
Mm-hmm.
Had a touchdown in there, but only put up 49 yards. Cole Beasley, on the other hand, had a 100-yard game on 6 receptions on 7 targets. And Gabe Davis, our rookie, actually came in second on receptions, or on receiving yards, then followed by our running back. So Diggs came in 4th, and we're still out here like, yo, we love getting the team win. We love just getting that W. And it's really showing how, like, this team is not focused around a single weapon. It really is focused around Josh Allen and what he can do to distribute the ball to all of the weapons he has.
Right. Yeah, and I super think that's going to be important moving forward. And I think Stephon Diggs right now is in a good place where he is with a team that's winning consistently so far. And there's enough talent around him. There's enough talent around him where he can go off.
Yeah.
But he's not pressured to do it. You know, like Cole Beasley. Like, who would imagine Cole Beasley would be a featured receiver on any football team anymore? Like, the dude is consistently one of the better slot receivers in the game.
Oh yeah,
but he's being featured in this Buffalo offense. Like, he's running routes you don't see slot receivers run. Like, he's splitting seam defenders and catching like 40-yard bombs and shit.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of the thing is, with the way that we've developed this offense, literally any given week, any one of our weapons could develop into the weapon of the week. You know, we saw all of those crossing routes last week that got Stephon like wide open, got John Brown wide open, got Cole Beasley even open on one. This week was a lot more. I mean, there were still some good deep passes going on, but it felt like a lot more chipping away at stuff.
And it's funny how we mentioned was a conservative performance. It seemed a more conservative performance in the passing game than last week, but Josh Allen was still
by about 100 yards. So
Yeah. Well, I also just mean like the route and the scheme, the routes and the scheme they were running. Because the Rams secondary is a little harder to expose.
You got to adjust when you're going up against like the top paid corner in the league for what that was worth. I mean, Diggs still beat Jalen Ramsey for a touchdown, so
roasted him. But even with that quote unquote conservative performance, Josh Allen still almost averaged 10 yards of completion. They were still stretching the field.
Yeah. And then we got this guy right here. Who, if you're watching the video, that's Tyler Kroft. That's a guy who I've really had nothing good to say about since he's been on the Bills for the last 2 years. But 5 targets, 4 receptions, 24 yards. That doesn't sound so good, right?
Red zone target, baby.
2 touchdowns.
Red zone target, baby. There's something to be said about just having a big motherfucker in the red zone.
And look at that extension. Like, he's all the way out there for that.
Yeah. He pulled that ball in. That was a good fade route.
Yeah. So, I'm sorry, go on.
But let's talk about, because the final for this game, 35-32.
Yeah.
Let's talk about how we got there.
Yeah, let's talk about how 28-3 is never safe. Ever.
Especially against a team like the Rams.
Apparently against any team anywhere. If you're losing a game, specifically aim to only have a field goal and give the other guys 4 touchdowns, because you'll come right back.
Yeah, you'll just come roaring back. And that's what the fucking Rams did, man. I think
our defense needs to figure out what the fuck they're doing up the middle.
Yeah, that was like their like second half adjustment was like, hey, Darrell Henderson, hit the A gap really hard, and Cooper Kupp just split the seams really hard.
Everybody, including myself, talking shit about Star Lotulelei not putting stats up. You can stuff that A gap a little bit.
Yeah,
maybe.
Yeah. And that's the one thing that's always scary about like we can be honest about 2018 Super Bowl. Sean McVay, they laid an egg because they tried to out Belichick.
Right, which you lose at.
Yeah, the thing that keeps the Rams competitive is their aggressive adjustments at halftime. And it's always been that way. Like the Rams, even last season where they weren't playing well, the Rams were kind of a shell of themselves, their 2018 selves, but Sean McVay, when he decides to get aggressive at halftime, they're a threat. They will always be a threat. Jared Goff looks good this year. He looks like that team looks like they're back on track, and they made the Bills have to work for it in that second half. The Bills still scored in the second half, but it wasn't enough. They were outscored by 15 points in the second half. Or some kind of obscure number like that.
In the second,
because 2-point conversions make things complicated.
Yes, they were outscored by 15 in the second half. That's correct.
And the Bills weren't. I just didn't feel like they were doing themselves any favors, especially There was one bullshit interception.
There was one totally bullshit interception that should have been offensive pass interference, but instead is the worst, like, not even Des Bryant, is this a catch moment.
Yeah.
Just like tight end Tyler Kroft, once again, involved.
Mm-hmm. It was so bad, it made me bust out the NFL rule book to make sure I wasn't going crazy.
So Tyler Kroft goes up, catches the ball, starts coming down with it. Now, granted, he pushes off on the lower back of the defender, so he commits a penalty. So this whole play should be basically null,
Yes.
you know, if the offense comes away with the ball.
Yes.
So he pushes on the lower back, goes up, catches the ball, starts coming down with it, and then the defender, like, halfway down, starts engaging with him and fighting for the ball, which I guess is why you do this every time, because the officials gave the defender the ball, even though there was no contention at the point of the catch.
Yeah,
and even then,
yeah, even if there was contention at the point of the catch, if both the defender and the receiver have possession of the ball when it is called down, the ball is given to the receiver. The ball is given to the offense. That's just always how the rule has been. And depending on the field, depending on the situation, like if both players are in the normal field of play, it's just down. It's just spotted where the ball goes down for the offense. If it's in the end zone, it's a touchdown. If the offensive player is in the end zone and the defender is not, it's a touchdown. If it's flipped, it's spotted at the 1. That's just how it's always been. But evidently, and I've yet to find anything to confirm this, so I don't know if it's a bullshit call or not, but right now, as far as I'm concerned, it's bullshit. I've never seen any rule that states if it is a contended ball with both the defender and the receiver having possession after a PI, that it's a turnover. I've never seen that, especially because Tyler Kroft was the first person to initiate, had obvious possession of the ball.
Yep.
Before he had grabbed ball, tucked into chest, defender contended. The defender contended when he had possession.
Yep.
So I don't understand how that was even remotely considered an interception.
And that gave the Rams a short field and began their drive, or their general momentum towards a comeback, at which point they had us down for a bit.
Yeah, it got ugly.
Not gonna lie, they had us in the second there for a while.
The last drive of the game, the last offensive drive for Buffalo, the Bills were trying everything they could to lose. They really were.
I mean,
it's
on brand.
Josh Allen. Say what?
I said it's on brand.
Yeah, Josh Allen committing a face mask penalty and an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty.
And what a weird face mask penalty, like from a quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you got to let go. Like, incidental contact from a stiff arm is fine, but he had contact and then carried his face down. Yep. So it's technically face mask. And then an unsportsmanlike conduct that we never really got an answer for. I think he was just jawing. He was just jawing whenever he got up.
Apparently he was just talking cash shit to the refs.
Yeah,
and he was like, and after the game, several times in post-game interviews, he was like, I can't do that.
Yeah. So I didn't understand what that penalty was, but I assumed it was something like that.
Yeah, he was talking mad smack to the refs.
Yeah, putting themselves in some long yardage situations they should not have been in.
Yeah.
And then the refs, they gave the Bills one back.
I mean, kind of.
It was more. Either way, it would have.
I'll say this. I'll agree with it being a ticky-tack foul. Mm-hmm. I won't agree with it not being a foul.
Illegal contact, not PI.
Or holding, or a 5-yard holding.
Or holding.
But
yeah.
I guess
it still would have been a fresh set of downs.
And especially at that distance, they were like 4 yards out from the end zone, so anything was going to be 2 yards and a fresh set of downs. So it kind of didn't matter what they called particularly.
No, they were.
I mean, holding, offensive or defensive holding is still a fresh set of downs.
Right, yeah. But it wouldn't put them on the 4-yard line where they closed the game out.
I mean, but were they not on the 4-yard line already?
They were like 15 yards out because this was like 4th and 9 or something. And the contact happened past 5 yards. It couldn't have been on the 4-yard line.
Right. I'm remembering the play now. Yeah.
So I agree with you. It was a foul regardless.
So it would have put him on like the 5 if it was a holding call.
Yeah. So the refs gave that pick back and gave Josh Allen the opportunity to throw a sweet fade to Tyler Cross in the corner of the end zone,
and he caught it.
And then the Rams tried to do some schoolyard bullshit the next time they got the ball.
Yep. And how'd that work out? It didn't.
It worked out about the same way it works out 99% of the time. This ain't no fucking Memphis Miracle or whatever the fuck they call that shit.
You know what they call it, and you're just being a dick.
Yeah. The Music City Miracle?
Yeah.
Was that it? Okay.
Asshole. Way to sneak that one in there.
Yeah. Overall, I still am liking what I'm seeing from Buffalo. Thoughts?
Yeah, I think this was a defining, this was a defining win. It defined the early part of the season. It showed that they could go up against someone who wasn't the Jets or Miami.
Yeah.
We've got, the Raiders next week, and we have to go to Las Vegas for that. We were back-to-back with that. We're on the road to Tennessee, and then we've got the Chiefs in Buffalo. That's our next 3 weeks.
It's not an easy schedule. The Raiders, but the Titans and the Chiefs.
The Raiders are showing that they kind of know how to play ball, or at the very least that Josh Jacobs can run the ball for them.
Yeah, the Raiders are definitely showing how to blow a lead to Tom Brady.
Well, it's Tom Brady.
And how to blow a lead to Cam Newton.
Well, it's the Patriots. No, didn't they beat the Patriots?
No, the Patriots came back and mollywopped them 36-20.
Oh, okay. Well, then he beat Tom Brady because they're 2-1 then. Because they were 2-0 going into this weekend.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they beat Tom Brady.
So
I might have had those backwards. They certainly know how to blow a lead to Bill Belichick.
Yeah, there you go. But
no.
I think we're gonna see more. I mean, I still think the Raiders are an easy game, even as a road game.
It's a dome.
I still don't believe in the Titans that much, but the last Titans team we beat were the Mariota Titans. And then at least we don't have to go to Arrowhead for Kansas City. Like, they wouldn't have a full stadium anyways, but at least we don't have to go there. So I think we saw more out of the Bills this week. I mean, and this was the most that they ever led by. Like, granted, they blew the entire lead, to the point where we were losing and had to come back at the end. But 28-3 was the biggest margin by far that we've had so far this season.
Yeah.
And we've also seen so far that the Bills have put up 27, 31, and 35 points. So they're increasing, and when it comes down to it, like, as far as general scoring goes, if the defense can keep up a little bit, you put up 27 points at minimum, you're going to win a lot of games.
Well, and the other big takeaway, too, is I break up every season into quarters.
Sure.
Even if for some reason you tank the game against Las Vegas next year, which I don't think
won
is gonna,
this
or next
quarter
week,
of the season.
Yeah. You're 3-1 this quarter of the season. You put together that streak, you close out the season 12-4.
Yep.
So, the Bills are on a track that we could not have pictured maybe 4 years ago.
Well, yeah, we didn't have Josh Allen at that point. So.
Yeah.
I mean, it's the funny thing where the thoughts I've had earlier today, this being Monday to pull the curtain back.
No, it's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's Tuesday, everybody. September the 28th.
Which is totally a Tuesday.
Yeah, definitely a Tuesday. I've kind of, like, I'm sort of having to readjust, like, what my perspective on my own team is.
Because you're not used to winning.
Because I'm not used to winning, and I'm not used to having like a consistently good quarterback. And it's like, people are out there saying like Tom Brady, Aaron Rodgers, Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen, and it's like, what?
What? Weird. No.
And they're like young quarterbacks. They're like Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, again Deshaun Watson, Josh Allen. It's like you weren't saying that name 2 years ago.
Understandably so.
Getting on the passenger side of my best friend's ride, trying to holler at me. Won't have it. But yeah, I think the more important tests are to come. But I think I have more confidence in this Bills team than I've ever had in a Bills team. And I think the other thing that I've had to realize is like last year we went 10-6, which isn't something to scoff at to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yep. You beat a good team this week. It was a good game.
Yeah. But let's talk about the rest of the week.
Rest of the wigwam. So how about the Eagles showing up in true Eagles fashion and letting themselves get Nick Foles to death? Not only did the Eagles blow a sizable lead, they had a 26-10 lead going into the fourth quarter, and then letting Chicago put up 20 unanswered.
So, did you know that no team in the NFL has ever given up a lead of, I believe it was more than 15 points more than once in a season?
Atlanta's done it twice now.
And the Falcons just did it back to back?
Mm-hmm. In some interesting fashions. There is a deficit in Atlanta right now. And that's their ability to close football games.
Yeah. Maybe learn something from Josh Allen, Matt Ryan.
Yeah. So, Matt Nagy, the coach for the Chicago Bears, decided, I don't want to rely on superhero Mitch Trubisky this fourth quarter. So he benched Mitch Trubisky in the middle of the third after just generally playing poorly. And Nick Foles got off to a rough start. The one interception he threw is kind of bullshit. Kind of similar situation to what happened to Tyler Kroft in the Bills game. It was contested in the end zone, and then it was called an interception after review. And then he goes on in the fourth quarter and throws 3 touchdowns. Nick Foles playing hero as normal. And the Bears are undefeated somehow.
Bear down.
They bird down. But so pretty much what I thought was going to happen happened. I was surprised Nick Foles wasn't named the starter at the beginning of the season. Mm-hmm. But I pretty much called at the beginning of the season. If you don't believe me, watch the tape. We covered most of the offseason where I said Mitch Trubisky's only going to start for a few games.
Episode 12. We're only into week 3 of the season. We've been doing this for a little bit.
Yeah, Nick Foles is going to get the start, and I'm pretty sure.
Shit.
I'm pretty sure the coaching staff in Chicago have already come out and said Nick Foles is going to start.
He as of 1:08 this afternoon,
okay,
according to Ian Rappaport. Because I was watching a competitor's sports broadcast.
Hey, we got to stay relevant. We got to stay up to date somehow. Yeah. They got the inside information. We don't.
We're also recorded and they're live, so
correct. So I didn't watch this game in particular. I mostly just watched the headlines of it because I thought it was hilarious.
I watched very few footballs this week because I was very sleepy.
Yeah, because I like watching Atlanta continue to be Atlanta. Dude, look, Atlanta fans, they need a hug right now. Please call your local Atlanta friend.
Yeah.
Make sure they're okay. Because they're establishing a precedent that nobody wants to experience in the NFL.
For a mere 19 cents a day, you can buy a roll of toilet paper for them to wipe their fucking tears up with.
Yeah. And I'm curious. I've been texting around to my Chicago friends like, hey, how do you feel about Mitch Trubisky finally getting the bench? So far, I've got nothing.
The quicker Mitch picker upper, bench him.
Yep. So we'll see how Nick Foles does for the rest of the season. If he can stay healthy, if he can, just goes out and plays out.
If he stays healthy, they're going to win a Super Bowl.
That's how it happens.
It's what he does. He's like the opposite of Ryan Fitzpatrick.
Oh boy.
Tripod Nick, out here getting it.
So that's all I really got on that game.
Okay. What's next?
What's next is, bro, a game that I probably should have watched.
Did you just call me bro?
Yes, I did.
Wow. Wind that one back.
Yeah. Bro, a game I probably should have watched.
I didn't say rewind it and play it again. I said,
you said wind that one back.
Nah, the line snapped. You need to put a new hook on there.
Okay.
That kind of
a game I should have watched.
Here we go.
Okay. The Cowboys-Seahawks game.
Okay.
That shit was really fun. Russell Wilson threw for 5 touchdowns.
He does that sometimes.
They're letting him cook. DJ Metcalf.
I'm sorry, they're doing what? I thought you hated that.
What?
You just said they're letting.
Yeah, I said they're letting him cook. Yeah,
Or you just accepted it at this point.
I have to. They won't fucking shut up about it.
Okay, fair enough. Go on.
DJ Metcalf probably made the mistake that every receiver makes in their in their career. Huh?
Who Metcalf?
DK.
There you go.
DK Metcalf made the mistake that every receiver has to learn in the NFL. Don't start celebrating until you're in the end zone.
Oh no, did he really?
So he started doing the slow walk with the ball out thing, and then a defender peanut punched it through the back of the end zone. Touchback, turnover.
He Sammy Watkins it.
He Sammy Watkins it. He didn't spike it, but he.
Sammy at least did that as a rookie. DK, you've been in the league a year. You should know better.
Yeah. But my man still went off. 4 receptions for 110 yards. Tyler Lockett had 9 receptions for 100 yards. Them two combined had 4 of the 5 touchdowns Russell Wilson threw.
Are these guys just on your fantasy team, so you got to shout them out?
DK is.
Okay.
Yeah. Because I'm playing week to week fantasy now.
Oh. That's right. You said you weren't playing fantasy.
I wasn't going to do a league.
Uh-huh.
But I technically live in West Virginia, so I can sports bet.
You gotta let me. Never mind. We'll talk about that off air.
Seattle, I feel like even though they won, it was 38-31. This was a really fun game to watch. Seattle got exposed.
Okay, why's that?
Their defense was awful.
Not the Legion of Boom.
Yeah.
They haven't been the Legion of Boom for 3 years.
No. Their defense was awful.
More like the Legion of Whom.
I hate it. Russell Wilson, got sacked 4 times.
Uh-huh.
And they were letting, aside from a couple of interceptions where Dak just threw some bad balls, they were letting Dak Prescott throw all over him. Dak Prescott had almost 500 yards passing in this game.
Jesus. I should pull some of these stats up.
The only reason Dallas was in this game is because Seattle's defense could not keep them away from it. And that's why I feel like they got exposed even though they won. Seattle has to score 40 points a game for them to win. And that is not a position you want to be in the NFC. Because there are other teams in the NFC that can also score a lot of points really quickly. And you don't want to get into shootouts with these teams that actually have defenses.
See, Dak threw for 472 with 3 touchdowns. He also threw 2 picks.
Yeah, and like I said, those picks were gimmies. They were lollipops. It wasn't like they were bad balls from Dak. It wasn't like a outstanding break from a corner or a linebacker broke on an inside route out of nowhere. It was just he threw some lollipops that gave Seattle some gifts, and Zeke couldn't get going.
Zeke, so Dak 14 carries for 34 yards.
Yeah, Zeke couldn't get going, so Dak Prescott kept them in the game with his arm, which is not what you want from Dallas. Why the Dallas Cowboys should not be able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
but they did. Now the game was the highlights really fun to watch. It was a shootout, but it shouldn't have been. So I feel like Seahawks got some work to do on the defensive side of the ball. That game reminded me a lot of how the Packers' defense broke down towards the end of the season last year. Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers was putting up 35 points a game, but they couldn't stop anybody worth shit, so they weren't competitive in the NFC because they had to try to outscore teams like the 49ers and the Rams who can play defense.
So here's a question for you. This is a broader question. I don't know if we're getting into broader topics yet, but...
we are shortly.
Okay. Do you think any defense is really, like, up to snuff yet? With there being, well, with or without there being no preseason?
Yes.
Okay, whose defense is up to snuff? Baltimore. Maybe Buffalo.
Maybe Buffalo.
Maybe some of the B names.
Yeah, but particularly the team that stands out the most in just pure defensive fuckery is Baltimore. Baltimore has yet to be challenged offensively because they played the Browns.
Well, we're going to see tonight.
And they've played the Texans.
Mm-hmm.
And they beat... So the combined points scored versus points against for those games was Baltimore scored 71 points to 22.
Yeah, that's kind of... So it's weird. It's like... it seems like NFL rankers seem to put the most emphasis behind like yards allowed for some reason, whereas I've always been a points allowed guy for. Like,
I'm a points for, points against guy.
Like for who's the actual best defense. Yeah. Now, granted, the Patriots had both of them last year, but like the Bills like allowed a bunch of yards, but when it came to actually scoring, it was like fuck you, kick a field goal.
Yeah, if you can march down the field all day, but if the defense clamps down in the red zone, you just can't score.
The Browns had an 8th and goal last year.
Sure did.
So,
yeah, points win football games, not yards.
What happened in that 8th and goal? That's right. Bill's staying tough.
Yeah. Bill still lost last year. Just saying. Got to lose to the Browns to be good. Yeah, I'm much more points for versus points against because, if, like I said, if defense can clamp in the red zone, doesn't matter how many yards you put up, Jack. Yeah. The Browns game this week was a perfect example of that. We had just barely 300 yards of offensive production, and we won 31-20.
Yeah, you can put up 472 yards of passing. Mm-hmm. If every one of those ends in 3, you're not counting real fast.
And that was the difference. That was kind of harkens back to what we're talking about with the Seattle Cowboys game. Is they put up over 500 yards of production and scored, and the Seattle just can't do that if they want to stay competitive.
All right, what you got next?
The last game I want to talk about just briefly, just because it was fun.
Games
is last night's game, the prime time one.
Primetime game.
The Green Bay New Orleans game. Yo, Aaron Rodgers is still very mad about something.
I mean, he's what's made him happy is he's got a new love in his life.
And that is keeping homie on the bench.
Yeah. Well, his new Jordan love is being like, "Hey kid, you're going to sit there for 4 years like I did."
Yep. And then you'll be a better quarterback because of it.
Yeah.
Or you'll suck. Who knows?
Or you'll end up somewhere else.
You'll fucking ask for a trade because you're tired of sitting behind literally probably the best quarterback in the league right now.
I mean, the best quarterback
overall,
in the league is...
not just this season.
Okay.
But it was an offensive showdown between these two teams like you'd expect. Saints, man, the Saints got to figure out their defense. Their secondary was not doing themselves any favors. They had 3 PIs, like deep PIs, the Saints, and you cannot do that against Aaron Rodgers. And Aaron Rodgers is the master of anybody. Exactly. but especially when you're going up against like the master of the free play, like you'll get in the neutral zone, then he'll just hike the ball and chuck it deep, and then you'll get the PI because you don't know what the fuck's going on. It happened 3 times. And even though Alvin Kamara had 190 plus yards from scrimmage, plus one of the most nuts like flat receiving touchdowns I've ever seen in my life.
I still need to see that. I've seen people comment about it, but I haven't seen the actual play yet. Yeah,
it was insane. It was Alvin Kamara just being Alvin Kamara. Even with that, Saints couldn't get it done.
Yep.
It was just another one of those games just fun to watch. I always love watching 2 great teams going at each other, and a lot of people are concerned about New Orleans right now because they're 1-2. They haven't had an easy schedule opening the season.
When did they start Jameis?
Yeah, never. Because Drew Brees ain't done shit wrong yet. The defense has to help him out. Drew Brees and Aaron Rodgers actually had very similar numbers for the game. Aaron Rodgers 21 for 32, 280 yards and 3 touchdowns. Drew Brees 29 for 36, 288 yards and 3 touchdowns. Like they were playing very well. The Saints defense just wasn't doing them any favors. But a lot of people are speculating about New Orleans' chances going into the rest of the season. They opened up to a pretty tough schedule. They played the Bucks week 1, which they won handily. Right. But then they played Las Vegas, who isn't a pushover. And then they had to play the Packers. But now they're going on to play the Lions, the Chargers, the Panthers, the Bears. That's 4 wins right there. So I'm not worried about the Saints. They need to figure out what's going on defense. Maybe smack their secondary in the ass a little bit. Quit committing some PIs. Let's keep our heads in the game so we can stay competitive.
I mean, this is the same secondary that let the Minnesota Miracle happen, but you know. All right, what's next?
And then overall big news coming out of the NFL. Philly Rivers. He is now joining Elite Company as one of 5 quarterbacks to have over 60,000 yards in the NFL. Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Brett Favre. I think Drew Brees is Phillip Rivers. So, congratulations to him. He's always a fun guy to watch.
Congratulations.
I wish he was on some winning football teams occasionally.
Dagnabbit.
God
darn it.
Gosh darn it.
Dadgum.
But not very news heavy this week. It was pretty much cut and dry. These were the games. A lot of really fun football this week. I had a lot of fun. Earl Thomas alert. He's visiting the Texans.
Yeah. He really wants to play in Texas, and it seems like, I mean, that signals to me that Dallas is seriously not trying to pick him up.
Yeah. Which, I mean, depending on who you ask, is either a good or a bad thing. I think Earl Thomas deserves to be on a football team, but I also said that about, fucking Jadeveon Clowney, and look how long it took him to get signed.
Oh, yeah, and then I guess Denver put South Park cutouts in their seats. Hooray.
It would have been funnier if they could win a football game.
Well, yeah. All right, I guess one last thing. Who have you got tonight, and why? I feel like we should start doing Monday night predictions, and this is going to be the hardest one, I think.
Yeah, definitely the hardest one of the season. Man, if Baltimore plays the way they have been and Kansas City shows their humanity like they did last week,
yeah,
I think Baltimore's got this one. They one of the strongest defenses, not only in the AFC but in the league right now. And Lamar Jackson is consistently showing you know what blows my mind? This is kind of a tangent, but it is related. People still doubt how good Lamar Jackson is,
which is weird.
Which is fucking weird. He's not a 5,000 yard, 50 touchdown guy like Pat Mahomes.
I mean,
but if he's a 30,
he is if you count his rushing yards and his rushing touchdowns.
Exactly. If he's 3,000 yards with 30 touchdowns and 1,500 yards and 10 rushing touchdowns, that's still pretty fucking good, dude.
Yeah.
So if they play the way they have been and Kansas City isn't able to get anything moving, because this is 2 weeks in a row from Kansas City where it's just like, I mean, yeah, you're still the Chiefs, but like you're not running away with these games. Like week 1, Kansas City versus Houston was, even though Houston was playing like dog shit, Kansas City in no way put them away. Houston kind of beat themselves, and Kansas City stood back and let them, and just watched. And then last week, Kansas City did not definitively win anything. Kansas City looks human right now, and I think Baltimore is the team to capitalize. I think Baltimore has this one. If there was a spread, I think it's going to be close.
3.5.
Yeah, maybe a touchdown if somebody gets crazy with it. I don't expect a blowout, but if anybody's going to blow out Kansas City, it's Baltimore.
I expect this to be this year's, Chiefs-Rams game.
Yeah, where
it's either going to be the Chiefs-Rams game, or both of the defenses are going to actually step up and do something. So basically, what I'm saying is it's going to either be high scoring or it's not.
Yeah, and I think the former is what's going to occur. I think these teams are going to go at each other's necks.
Yeah,
just because the weapons
they're going to try to.
Yeah, and just because the weapons around both quarterbacks. This also could be a rise to the occasion kind of thing for Patrick Mahomes and that entire offense, to where it's like, hey, we got to play up to Baltimore's level, and they put up a 50 bomb. Yeah, but I think Baltimore is going to win this pretty handily. I think it's going to be a close game, but I don't think, just the way Kansas City's been playing, I don't think Baltimore loses this game.
Okay, then who's a better team? Is it Kansas City or Baltimore?
Oh, Baltimore, 100%.
You think so?
Yeah. Well, like for the previous points that I made earlier, Baltimore is outscoring opponents right now in the double digits, like 10 or 3 times over. Like I said, asterisk, it's been against, I want to say cupcake teams, but the Browns for one. But the Ravens are the only team right now that seems to be able to, like, the Ravens and sometimes San Francisco, but the Ravens more often, they seem to be the only ones where their defense is firing just as hard as their offense. I think Kansas City is a little exposed right now. Not to the point where it's a detriment to the team, but they look, like I've said, like we both have said several times now, they look human. Yeah.
Or they've shown flashes of being human, which is...
And the Ravens consistently just don't. They just don't look... Lamar Jackson in particular, he just doesn't look human. You look at his stats and they don't look great, but that's because he's literally the best dual threat quarterback the league has seen in years since Cam Newton was drafted. He won the MVP the same way Cam Newton did. A lot of rushing yards and a lot of rushing touchdowns.
Yeah, sure, okay.
Yeah.
Josh Allen's a dual threat.
Josh Allen didn't put up 1,500 yards rushing last year.
Yet. Oh, last year.
He certainly isn't doing it this year.
Yet.
At all. He can actually throw the ball now. Though. Yeah, exactly. He's not gonna Lamar Jackson his way to the MVP.
Yeah, probably not.
Yeah, but he sure as fuck could put up 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns to do it.
Yeah.
We'll see.
It's see.
Definitely a possibility.
We'll see. And as other things develop with this season, we'll be here to cover them. But until that point, this has been the Fourth and Wrong podcast for September the 28th, 2020. It's a Tuesday, Matt.
It's always a Tuesday.
It's always Tuesday.
It's always Tuesday.
Say goodbye, Keith.
Goodbye, Keith.
Give me 30 more seconds.
Ba 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 ba.
Ba 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 ba. Ba ba. Sorry, I skipped a line.
I can't remember.
Ba 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 ba.
I started doing like the Fox or not Fox thing, like more like the movie thing. Ba 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 ba.
Yeah, you did start.
Ba 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 ba. I can't remember.
Boom boom.
Boom. Yep.
Whoa whoa.
Can't remember which one that is.
Look at that extension.
Yeah, he looking all kinds of like a ruler right now. I can see your bed.
Damn it.
It unkeyed itself for just like a quick second.
It's right there.
Yep, there it is.
This is where the magic happens.
Yeah. What's that? You passing out drunk and being sad?
That's how you start a podcast.
I wasn't recording. I'm waiting for you.
Oh, I'm recording.
Oh, well,
I'll just use the XSplit audio. Yeah, what the you yell at me about recording and you're not recording?
I was waiting for you to tell me. I'm just sitting here twiddling my damn thumbs.
I don't know how that's going to look at the end.